Good afternoon, Shiven. A warm welcome to you on behalf of APAC News Network. Very
Good
briefly,
afternoon,
APAC
Rajneesh.
News is headquartered out of Noida, and we focus on government, healthcare, education, enterprise, IT, BFSI, as well as startups. So primarily this interaction is in the category of startups. And what we would like to know is, since we have a very interesting premise, so we want to understand how it works and what are the business dynamics around that. So maybe the best way to start would be if you can tell us a little bit about the genesis of Pingkaro and how did this whole thing come about.
Of course, thanks for bringing us here. So Pingkaro came into fruition because there was a problem. I faced a problem at home, and I required a solution. This was sometime in the lockdown last year when my aunt who lives with us, um, I was told to fix a television that wasn't working in her room, and supposedly I was supposed to know the fix for a television problem. So after that, I tried to ring up the many call centers that existed for Sony, the numbers I could find, X, Y, and Z. And of course, during the lockdown period, everything was shut. So I was having a lot of trouble getting into, any call centers or any service centers to get that TV repaired. Um, Retrospectively, Pinkaro could not have helped even in that lockdown because if everything was shut, everything was shut. But therein came about a problem that us as consumers, over 95% of the times, we have no choice but to call the number that we find on Google, which is supposedly the brand phone number, and to try and get any service. Now, that over 40% of the times the number that Google shows is anyway incorrect. So the call going is anyway, as a customer, you're being stolen away from the brand. Now, digging more into the solution, what started out as a simple thought that, hey, there should be a way that customers should be able to connect with the authorized service centers. This is a simple idea. What started out with an idea of simply connecting for repair and maintenance or any after sale service today has grown into something significant, significantly bolder, where we are trying to change the way that customers and brands are interacting with each other post a sale or a service. Now, with that being said, we are trying to bring about technology in an industry that is extremely resistant to adopting technology, is an extremely messy industry of after sales services. I'll give you an example. Each service center might have an authorization from one brand, but that service center will cater to 20 of the brand products at your house in an unauthorized way. And that same issue is replicated across the industry. Now, it's it's not an easy solution, but we are making waves in what will definitely change the way this interaction and owning the experience of household appliances will work. So that, I think, was the genesis, the idea behind Pinkaro. And of course, over a period of time, it has matured significantly. Given the journey we've had, we've also had to pivot slightly. I can get to that at some point.
Okay, so two things I'd like to understand in terms of how Pinkaro is working now. You mentioned very correctly the authorized service centers for one brand often works for multi-brand. That is true. And even as a personal consumer, I'll tell you two, three areas where there is a problem. One is when you are purchasing from the brand, then a lot of these service, it's very difficult to reach the right authorized service center, first of all. And then even if you somehow are able to reach it, how they will respond and how they will react is another matter. That is the second part. I'll add two more things here. One, if you see, which was already largely true in pre-pandemic times. Now, post-pandemic, that has accelerated is most of the appliance purchases are done through the likes of Amazon or Flipkart. And then Amazon or Flipkart, once you purchase the thing, they have a tie-up with the brand in terms of installation and after-sales service, which is even worse. Uh, for the say, you have to where there is a third party coming in, and then Amazon or Flipkart will have a lot of rigmarole, and it's even more difficult to reach out. So, how does a Pingkaro type of solution take care of this situation? So, one is that service center handling multiple brands, and through these online e-commerce, whatever purchases are made, how do they handle that?
So, very interesting points and problems that you've brought up over here. I must say that this is on the more intriguing side of questions that we've been asked. So, first and foremost, what we are doing is we're tying up with the CRMs of the brand. So we have an entire flow of your request going into the particular technician that is supposed to come and deliver that service for you. And we are trying to bring about that transparency to you on the consumer side, where you'll be able to track very openly, transparently what service or what stage your particular request has gone, whether which is the service center that's allotted, which is the technician, when are they coming to your house, it has started, finished, etc. Number one. Number two, our customer experience and operations team will ensure or will try to ensure that the brand is imparting these services in the allocated time slots. Now, of course, we can't control that. But what we can do is bring about that transparency to the consumer and that answerability from the brand side for the consumers. What we can assure is that you will definitely be heard by the brands and the brands will respond to you. But beyond that, I'll give you an issue in the industry that will take a long time even for us to fix. These service centers are actually authorized service centers of the brand. They're not on technically on their payroll. And then the technicians are on the payroll of the authorized service centers. So technically, they are extremely far removed from the brand themselves. So, in order to reduce that sort of red tapeism, the bureaucracy, even with the regards to the services and how they are imparted and how many requests a brand is taking per time slot that they give to us to the consumer. All those things over a period of time will be solved by our involvement in optimizing that solution for the brands. So that is why we are playing it's a B2B and a B2C niche that we have found ourselves in, because there are several irregularities on the brand side as well that we yearn to fix by bringing about this transparency from the consumer side. So that for your first question over there will over a period of time be answered by ensuring an efficiency is brought into the system and that efficiency is replicated across the brands, so that the customer is not having a different experience with the different brands in order to get them to contact them to simply come to their house and get a small service, which is their obligatory duty to perform. So we are going to make an effort in getting the brands in our customer experience and operational team. We are entrenched in the brands when we are integrating with them, so we know who to call, who to get in touch with to ensure that the customer service is being taken care of. So in that way, the customer will never have to, keep hitting a wall every time they have any issues with their services. Number one. Number two, the very interesting point of Flipkart and Amazon also you brought up. I'll add more to this. Even if you go into aggregated offline sale platforms such as your Chroma and your Vijay Sales, next time you go in there, just try and notice the extended warranties that their salespeople might have an incentive to sell to you will actually not be of the brand. It will be of third party service providers like one on-site go or Surveyfy or things like that. Now their services are even worse than what the brand is, and that is the customer feedback that you can go typically, not in every case of course, but typically you can go and find on customer reviews how poorly executed oftentimes the job of these unauthorized third party service providers are. But because of their tie ups, they are present to sell you their extended warranties, to make you their offers at the time of your purchase. Now brands have to deploy a large amount of manforce to try and sell you that, to try and target you at that point of sale, simply because selling you brand's extended warranty or a brand's AMC might not be the same amount of incentive for the salesperson who at the retailer or at the online that they are getting for third party sales. So just because their incentive of selling you is different, at the end of the day it's a loss to you as a customer. Because if you try to call the brand after that, they will say, sorry, we can't take guarantee or warranty of this thing and it is all void now. So brand also, eventually the brand image is also tarnished because they are unable to provide you, because customer was duped at the point of sale, or by either getting better offer at that point of sale in order to save maybe some amount of money, the customer's warranty was void. So there are a lot of problems when it comes to that also. So what we are trying to do is try to use technology to be present to you at your point of sale, so that your registration can be easy with the brand, so that your warranty can be tracked easily with the brand, so that any AMC that you want to purchase can be purchased within the application for all brands, all products and appliances. I hope that gives your answer to both your
Yeah,
questions.
that fairly. I'll come to the practical execution of this part later. But now, my another question is, you raised it correctly. Since you said you are tied up with the CRM of the brands themselves. Now, here you rightly said most of the service, the warranty, the after sale service are being provided by the distributors or sub distributors or after sales partners. And the technicians are also their employees, they are not the employees of the brand. So, in terms of how can you ensure that, see, one thing is just tracking, but at the end of the day, just tracking doesn't solve any purpose of the consumer. So, in terms of how can you ensure that ultimately that service is being provided when there are multiple entities involved, and in fact, when we talk about the offline, the LFRs like Vijay Sales Promo you mentioned, or the Amazons or Flipkarts, then there is another entity also involved in the whole thing. So these multiple entities, how do you ensure that the things are happening? That is from the business perspective, and from the technology perspective. Now your customer experience measurement or the customer deliverable is done in an omni-channel kind of mode. So you
I'm
will
sorry,
have
can you repeat that last part? I lost you there.
I'm saying the customer experience or the customer service is now being handled or delivered in an omni-channel mode. So it
Right.
will be done through your mobile website, or
Correct.
some chatbots might be doing it, or it can be telephonic, whatever. So it's multiple way. So how do you manage that omni-channel multiple delivery mode? That's from the technology and aspect, and the business aspect is, since so many entities are involved, how do you ensure that all these entities ultimately have to synchronize for the delivery of the service? So how do you ensure that?
Right. So, both your questions, again, very interesting ones. Uh, as far as ensuring that it's a brand authorized representative that is imparting the services, again, no service center can walk up to us and say, "Hey, we're authorized by the brand." Like, it has to come from the brand authorized. Since we are working with their CRM, the service center that is sitting, the service center module of their CRM is being accessed by the administrator of those service centers. So how it works is the number of requests that, in order to maintain their authorization from the brands, they have to execute the number of services that are sent to their module of the CRM. Now, that module of the CRM has to receive requests for the brand side from various channels. For example, even the brand call center. We're not replacing the brand call center. We're not replacing the brand's WhatsApp. We are not replacing replacing their mobile applications. Who are we to replace their mobile applications? But what we are doing is providing a new channel for their customers, which we believe their customers will come to this channel, because as a customer, you don't want to own 20 mobile applications. As a customer, your 2 minute conversation with a call center representative feels like 1 hour has been wasted. Your five They will ask you 30 questions that you will not have answers to. You will not have relevant information when you need it at the time you need it about your various product. Your bill, it might be your serial number. There are various things. So again, providing the customer an ability to have everything for their home appliances under one platform, where they're seeing, tracking, contacting the brand for any of these issues, that becomes very important. Now, currently the application exists only on Android. Of course, the market is largest on Android. We are building on iOS as well, and should be live with the application, um, hopefully this calendar year. We are targeting with the iOS application, and similar timeline with the web application as well. So as a customer, you can store. We'll be bringing in certain interesting features, because I'll touch on one or two of those interesting features. But you will be able to store all your information about all your appliances in the application, and track all of them in the application. So when you log into your profile, either on your web or on your mobile phone, you will have access to all the same application appliances. You don't have to re-enter your saved appliance details again and again. All you have to do is select the appliance you're having an issue with all the information that you would have filled out previously, and simply select your issue and send it out to the brand that we are associated with. So it's that simple when it comes to it. um, on the second part of your question, where there are various entities that unauthorized entities that are dealing with this. Like I mentioned, that unless and until the service centers are coming from the brand, it will not go to the various entities. So once again, nobody can walk up to us. If we are, that's how we maintain the sanctity of the solution. We go from the top. Also with the brands, how it works is, their CRMs are giving us country level access, right? We will be expanding our services availability in different cities after successful models have been proven in your tier 1 cities, and then expand it. Our model is eventually city agnostic, since the CRM is a city agnostic model. So therein lies a very good scope for expansion. Since I've talked about associated brands, I'll just give a small point over here. Currently, the application is live without the associated brands. I will not be able to reveal to you which are the brands that we are associating with, but we are having our integration process underway with two extremely large manufacturers at the moment, and we have conversations at the highest level with the management of the highest level with 7 other brands at the moment for integration. So we are on track for being with at least 10 associated brands, hopefully within the next 3 to 4 months. That is the target that
So,
we are going for. Yeah.
so with these 10, this was my next question: how many brands? So, once, say, in 3 to 4 months, you associate with these 10 brands. You mentioned actually services can be geography agnostic, but which are the locations or cities that would be addressed once these 10 brands are in the portfolio? Say
So we
another
are.
3 months.
I'll give you a small differentiation between associated brands and other brands. How we've put it. For You see, there's a list of maybe 150, 200 odd brands that are providing consumer durables and electronics. In order to get them all on board and integrate with their CRMs is a journey. And a journey is putting it mildly. Um, it is going to be a while till we are able to bring the who's of the international brands on board. So while that is said, on one hand, we are working with some of the largest Indian brands on board to bring them on board and to integrate them. Now, sorry, back to your question on which geographies we are launching with. Today is Delhi NCR. We have verified certain informations of other brands in Delhi NCR, and we made that active. And we are also targeting downloads through our campaigns in Delhi NCR. Next up is the city cluster of Mumbai and Pune. They're on Bangalore. By the time we are with sorry, by the time we are live with 10 brands, we should also be in Bangalore and Mangalore city clusters. And that's to say the least. So the only restriction here is my marketing spend. Because to the brands, I am telling them I don't want their customer database. That's actually one of the ways that we are able to work in this industry. Not wanting their database puts us on a track of getting customers ourselves. And in order to get the customers ourselves, it has to be, we have to market this product. Restrictions on my marketing budget was most likely the only reason for not expanding to every city in the country, because I have
But
to acquire
won't
the
the
customers.
marketing, won't you be able to do co-branding with the brands? That should take care partially of the marketing thing.
So there's both ways to it. Since we're trying to execute a model of services that hasn't been done before, there is a lot of resistance when it comes to the brands. So and a lot is also, again, putting it very mildly, convincing them of adopting a new technology. It's much easier because everybody has experienced what startups can do. So in that way, it is easier to bring about a new idea. However, clearing off on any new idea is going to take its own sweet time. Until and unless we are able to command our position with the brands where we have provided significant services, a good percentage, a good chunk, it is going to be an extremely difficult conversation in telling them to tell their customers that this is the preferred channel. However, while that is being said, as I mentioned, we are playing a B2B and a B2C game. So this is part of our B2C game where we have to increase our customer base. We can increase our customer base even for those customers whose brands are not associated with us just yet. That is why we are able to provide enough features even in the application today, that customers, over 17,000 downloads have occurred on our application over this small period of 6 to 7 weeks, where we barely even marketed the product correctly. So once again, we're able to provide features enough to customers to download the application without the associated brands. And on the other hand, we have to bring as many associated brands on board. It's a bit of a chicken and egg game. You go to the brands, they say, "Where are my customers?" You go to the customers, and you'll start asking me the list of my brands as if they're my family members' brands. So it's it's a bit of an interesting game that I've had to play recently.
Then, once, say, even after 4 months, you will have at most about 10 brands. Even then, at that time, how would you look at increasing the consumer base? Because ultimately, you are focusing only on those 10 brands. And as far as appliances are concerned, is it only the electronic consumer durables you are focusing on, or also on mobiles and computers?
Um, okay, I'll answer your second question first. Um, Mobiles and laptops today is an extremely crowded space. If you see, there are n number of solutions that are existent for mobiles and laptops. To try and compete and to create your own name in an already cluttered market in that sphere is going to be an extremely difficult task. However, once we have created enough of a base for ourselves in this industry, of course, adding a yet another service for yet another product becomes very easy. And let me tell you, it's not that I don't want I we're not solving for a limited problem of maybe electronics going bad or consumer durables going bad. What I want to see in the future is see this model succeed. Because if we are able to ensure that this model succeeds, there is a cross industry application for this model. You take cars. You take you know you take health devices at home, EKG machines. You take corporates into this umbrella. Corporate buildings, maintenance contracts or buildings, maintenance agencies. You take colonies into this. Is so as long as this model works, it can be expanded into something that perhaps I can't even think about today. So what I'm trying to do today is make this model work for consumer durables and electronics, because that is something nobody has done before. Once it does, expanding your customer base, again, that's very, I shouldn't say easy thing, but it's relatively easier than everything else that's related to this.
Okay,
Uh,
and
if we take customers in mind, and we there is a major pain point that this application solves. Major pain point that this application solves. Contacting different brands under one umbrella, one application that solves for all. That's a concept that we've seen solve similar problems in different industries. So it's a concept that works, and and
no,
and concept that has definitely seen traction. So
this concept will definitely work once it's in sort of full mode. Another thing I want to understand, so these after sales services and these extended warranties include a lot of things in terms of replacement warranties, where there is a part replacement required. It's not just a repair or replacement. Then there are modalities like on site or off site. So, what you entail your deal with the brands, would the entail encompass everything in terms of where there is replacement required, not just repair, because that would involve some other logistics also. So how would it happen?
what we are doing is we're not imparting the services ourselves. We are not performing these services. We are acting like an enhanced bridge, like your internet 3.0 bridge, where you are just connecting in a different way with your brands, and the brands are imparting those services on their own accord, according to their requirements and what their technicians deem fit as a requirement for your products. um, as far as it comes to your maintaining of warranties or AMCs with the brands, that's where we are coming in. We'll be able to assist you in maintaining your extended warranties, in able to get you to purchase them at the right time before expiry, to remind you that you may have free services that you have not opted for. That comes in a bit of preventative maintenance, as a concept that I, I see half the brands trying to push for, the other half not being able to push for, whatever reason that there may be. So that is where we are stepping in order to bring the brands to the consumers in a more, how should I say, efficient way. Because today, for example, it is going to be extremely hard for brands to put out an entire team that is tracking each and every person's expiry of warranty so that they can call you and manually try to sell you an AMC. Also, if somebody gives you a call in the middle of this interview, imagine one brand gives you a call in the middle of this interview, you're not going to pick up. But that brand has done the effort of calling this one number because the executive wants to earn, saying I to called. So again, there are various, because you today right now are not in the mind. It's not your top priority to solve for that problem. Your top priority to solve for that problem is either when something breaks or when there is a need or an urgency created with you. Maybe by telling you your warranties are expiring or it has expired, your benefits will be X, Y, and Z. Or when you are making the purchase to enter with a brand ecosystem altogether. Apart from that, as consumers, you will not be interested in buying an AMC. That is why brand AMC sales are not more than 2 to 3% on average, which may be a very shocking number, but that's just how low it is, simply because they are not able to. So that is where we are stepping in getting the brand, in benefiting the brands over there, and the
Okay.
customers, of course, in turn.
And is there a possibility of obviously you mentioned you directly don't work with service centers, so it's not that any service center can come and associate with you. What I'm trying to gauge is ultimately to reach out to more consumers. It has to work beyond the authorized service centers or the brand authorized service centers in the likes of how Urban Clap, now it's Urban Company, how they function. Uh, One of their
Yep.
services regarding appliances. So, are there any plans to take up things in that aspect?
Uh, I I can for certain tell you that we will not be taking up services ourselves, simply because that is in direct violation of what we are promising the brands. Number one. Number two. Um, who has seen the future? Some 5 years, 7 years down the line, should multiple brands give us authorization to impart services on their behalf, that is a different story altogether. But if we start providing services like Urban Company and the likes do, then this solution is at lockerheads with what our business plan at the core is. That is providing the brand authorized service centers. If at some point we are able to prove to the brands that expanding their authorization for number of service centers that they have authorized simply because of the increased volumes that they are getting, then that is something that I look forward to bringing about as a change with brands. But let me tell you something. In in an increasingly interconnected world where, so I was at Dubai Expo some time ago, and Jitex, which is another, it's one of the world's largest tech summits in Dubai. What it was very interesting to see what normal in 2030 would be like today. So in an increasingly more interconnected world where you humans, us humans, are talking more in a more connected way with all our devices, with all our cars, with our X, Y, and Z, connecting with things at a more intimate level with technology. When there is technology that is bound to be so intimately in our lives, there is always going to be a need for authorized technic like authentic technical guidance, authentic technical resolution. Now, unless and until you are making these products, you cannot provide authentic technical resolution. Either you're making them or you're specifically taught how to repair them. So until either of these situations happen, I don't think we are providing our own services and competing with Urban Company, because Raghav and the team, those guys have done great. So why? That's not a space I want to be competing in.
And once these the 10 brands that you mentioned you are talking to, so I just wanted to understand if you can indicate what sort of products, even within appliances, what are the appliances that are included in these 10 brands?
So again, there's no restriction on appliances. We are also working with the brands to not try and change too much on their end today, because if we that's something that they just don't want to do, to put mildly put. So for example, if they are unable to provide you services today, register services for a new appliance that they have only recently launched, then unfortunately we will not be able to provide services for that within the application either. But all your brands that are manufacturing appliances, your TVs, your AC machines, brands that are manufacturing them are definitely going to be taking services for them as well. So anything that a brand can today take a service for, maybe through their own application or through their call center, they should be able to take those services through Pingkaro as well. There's no restriction, so to speak. At least on our end, there's no restriction. We'll try to, if there's enough people telling us that there's a product missing, and if there's enough people telling the brand through us, we'll be able to put enough pressure on them to get those products available to you as soon as possible.
Okay, and lastly, I'd like to ask, you indicated obviously how you would do the marketing. But till now, even as you are in talks with these 7+2 brands, what are the some of the direct marketing initiatives that have already been undertaken?
So today we are targeting residents of Delhi NCR area to download the application because that's where we are going to be piloting with our initial set of brands. Our initial set of brands have also been told of the same thing. Now we I have so we're working very closely with our Marcom agency, Flax Communications, in order to impart various marketing and communication techniques. We either via your social media platforms or on the app download campaigns. Honestly, SEO is a great tool that people significantly undervalue, but we are doing a lot of SEO and smart SEO to ensure that we are available with the consumers and our right and targeted audience when they are searching for relevant keywords. Say if you want to suggest for a new appliance or want to search for a new appliance, I hope we're able to show Pingkaro to you sitting in Delhi NCR. So again, it apart from that, of course, we have initiated a bit of a radio campaign, a small radio campaign to launch to get a get Pingkaro in people's minds. There's a catchy jingle attached to it. There's a mascot. There's a very cute mascot that personifies "Aapke Ghar Ka Dost." Um, we're going to have a lot of BTL activities, capture people at the point of sale, yada yada yada. There's a whole suite of activities that's being executed even today. But apart from that, honestly, I hope in a year or two that we're also showing you ads on IPL. So that's hopefully a path that I can see.
So, if I look at the little bit of the future, apart from these marketing activities and the brands addition that you mentioned in 3 4 months, so over the next 2 3 quarters, if we look at the next 1 to 1.5 year, what are going to be the key focus areas, activities that you will be doing?
So the key focus areas and activities. So I'll differentiate both of those on B2B and B2C side. On the B2B side, it's to onboard targeting 15 to 20 brands by the end of the year, by the end of next year, to have the services active in at least 4 to 5 city clusters. Like I mentioned, Delhi, NCR, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Mangalore, maybe a Chennai in the mix, maybe a Hyderabad in the mix, maybe a Jaipur in the mix. That's something that we will take a call when the time comes. Apart from that, I think our team size, which today is about 15 odd people, our team size should be not less than I'm looking at 60 to 70 figure by the end of next year at least. And that's at the very least. I also don't believe that you need too large a team. I oftentimes try and think how many times does a same process need to be repeated. So I always envision a leaner team. With that being said, 60 70 is not a small figure that I'm aiming for. And on the B2C side, to have at least 1.5 million subscribers at the end of the next year is the target, where we have been able to provide you services for about 15 to 20 brands. That's the target that we're aiming at on these three fronts. I think you are on mute.
Yeah, typically from the B2B and B2C side, any specific revenue models have been planned in terms of the, I'm looking at the amounts, say, how much for B2C, how much would you charge the subscribers? From the B2B side, what will be the partnership angles in terms of
I'll put
revenue?
it this way: if you have to call a brand, you don't pay the call center. No, we're not charging the customers anything for any of this. We're working with the brands. The brands
Okay.
have an operational cost related to the call centers. So as long as they're So as long as we are covering our costs on their end, and we're able to provide them enough reason to bear the costs of providing, facilitating these services, which I think we are able to, there shouldn't be any restrictions on the brands adopting this model once they have seen something successfully executed. So then it's I was given a statement. I really want to reveal these two brand names, but I cannot. But I was given a statement by one brand saying, "Arey, if that brand is there, then we'll definitely be there. But if they are not there, it will take longer time." So it's one sees, other repeats. It's as simple as that in this industry. Nobody wants to be left out, but nobody wants to take initiative on their own volition either. There are brands with younger representatives, even in the senior management position, that are willing to bring about technology based changes. Then there are brands that their departments are being led by people who have less hair than I have white hairs on my head. So it's significantly harder for them to move from a position that they're comfortable in. It's a bit of an interesting game.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you taking your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.